Welcome to NFL SnapWire. Let's get straight into it. Baker Mayfield has never been known for holding his tongue. And this week, he proved once again that he doesn't forget how he was treated, especially when he feels disrespected. Just days after the Atlanta Falcons officially hired Kevin Stefanski as their new head coach, Mayfield fired off a sharp response that instantly grabbed attention across the league. The timing wasn't accidental. And the message was unmistakable. This wasn't about scheme. This wasn't about wins and losses. This was about how Baker Mayfield believes he was treated behind closed doors in Cleveland. And now, with Stefanski moving on and Mayfield thriving elsewhere, the gloves are officially off. The spark came from a report by Atlanta Journal-Constitution writer D. Orlando Ledbetter, who described Stefanski's quarterback situation in Cleveland as a dumpster fire. The article grouped both Baker Mayfield and Deshaun Watson together, stating that neither ultimately succeeded under Stefanski's leadership. That's when Mayfield stepped in. Seeing the article circulate on X, Baker didn't just disagree, he took aim. Not only at the narrative, but at Stefanski himself. And while Mayfield didn't write a long rant, the implication was devastating. To Baker, being lumped into a failed category wasn't just inaccurate, it ignored the reality of what he endured. Because in his view, he wasn't given a fair chance. He was discarded. To understand why this moment matters, you have to rewind to where it all began. In 2018, Baker Mayfield arrived in Cleveland as the number 1 overall pick, the face of a franchise that had spent decades cycling through quarterbacks. Expectations were enormous, but so was the energy. By 2020, under Kevin Stefanski's first season as head coach, things finally clicked. The Browns finished 11-5. They made the playoffs. And they stunned the Pittsburgh Steelers in the wildcard round. It was one of the biggest moments in modern Browns history. Stefanski won NFL Coach of the Year. Mayfield looked like a franchise quarterback. Cleveland believed it had finally turned the corner. But what looked like the beginning of something special would unravel faster than anyone expected. The 2021 season changed everything. Baker Mayfield played nearly the entire year with a torn labrum in his shoulder, an injury that would eventually require surgery. Week after week, he gutted it out, absorbing hits, sacrificing his mechanics, and trying to keep the Browns afloat. The result? An 8-9 record and no playoff berth. But instead of support, Mayfield felt the ground shifting beneath him. Behind the scenes, Cleveland began exploring other quarterback options. The front office's faith wavered. And according to Baker, the communication, or lack of it, was damning. By the time the Browns aggressively pursued Deshaun Watson in the 2022 offseason, Mayfield knew the writing was on the wall. The team that once crowned him their savior had moved on. And Baker took it personally. Mayfield requested a trade shortly after the Watson signing. Not quietly. Not subtly. He wanted out. In interviews later, Baker made it clear that the way things ended in Cleveland left scars. He felt pushed aside. Undervalued. Treated, in his words, like a piece of garbage. That phrase has lingered ever since. Because to Mayfield, this wasn't just about losing his job. It was about respect, or the lack of it, from the coaching staff, from leadership, and especially from Stefanski. When Baker left Cleveland, he didn't just leave a city. He left with a chip on his shoulder. Fast forward to today, and the contrast couldn't be sharper. Kevin Stefanski was fired earlier this month after the Browns limped to a 5-12 record in the 2025 season. Once hailed as the franchise's savior, he exited quietly, his tenure defined as much by what went wrong as what once went right. Meanwhile, Baker Mayfield rebuilt his career piece by piece. After stops in Carolina and Los Angeles, he found stability in Tampa Bay. Not only did he win the Buccaneers' starting job, he became a leader again. A quarterback trusted by his locker room. A player embraced by his coaches. A veteran who had earned his second act. So when Stefanski landed back on his feet with the Falcons, Baker didn't see redemption. He saw irony. That's why Mayfield's reaction this week felt less like a spontaneous comment and more like a long-awaited release. By pushing back on the both quarterbacks failed narrative, Baker wasn't rewriting history, he was challenging it. He was reminding everyone that under Stefanski, he led Cleveland to its first playoff win in decades, played through serious injury, took blame publicly while others stayed silent, and in return, he believes he was discarded without dignity. That's the part Baker refuses to let slide. Now here's where things get even more interesting. Kevin Stefanski's new job with the Atlanta Falcons puts him directly in Baker Mayfield's path. Both teams play in the NFC South, which means, barring injury or major changes, Baker Mayfield and Kevin Stefanski are set to face each other at least twice every season. This isn't a distant rivalry. It's imminent. And if Baker's comments are any indication, those matchups won't just be football games. They'll be personal. For Stefanski, the challenge in Atlanta is massive. He inherits a team desperate for stability at quarterback, the very issue that haunted him in Cleveland. For Baker, the matchup represents something else entirely. Validation. A chance to prove that he wasn't the problem. A chance to face the coach he believes gave up on him. A chance to settle unfinished business on the field, not online. And if history tells us anything, Baker Mayfield doesn't shy away from moments like that. He embraces them. Around the league, reactions have been split. Some believe Baker's comments are unnecessary, a quarterback reopening old wounds when he should be focused on the present. Others see it differently. They see a player finally speaking his truth. In an era where franchises move on quickly and quarterbacks take the blame, Mayfield's honesty resonates. He's not pretending everything ended amicably. He's not offering PR-friendly sound bites. He's saying what many players think, but rarely say out loud. And that honesty makes his next matchup with Stefanski must-watch television. One thing is certain, this story isn't over. Not when both men are still active. Not when their teams share a division. Not when pride, legacy, and reputation are all on the line. Kevin Stefanski gets his fresh start in Atlanta. Baker Mayfield continues his resurgence in Tampa Bay. And somewhere down the road, they'll meet again. When they do, the scoreboard won't just decide the winner. It'll decide who really failed and who was simply never given a fair chance. And that's the latest from around the league. If you want real NFL stories, real rivalries, and real reactions, you're already in the right place. This is NFL SnapWire. Hit like, subscribe, and stay locked in. We'll see you next time.